Islam, Shalom, Hola, Aloha, Osio, Bonjour. This is your brother Zach Bay, Indigenous American Moor, coming to you live in full effect. Thank you for joining me once again. Please like, share, subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell down below so you can be notified whenever I'm dropping new content. Leave a comment and interact with me. Thank you. I really do appreciate your viewership. Thank you for jumping back into it with me. Today, this is the part 2 for the pros and cons, what it's like, being a Moorish American, claiming your nationality, and what it was like for me personally getting into this information, and some of the pros and the cons of claiming your nationality and going from the the dead black Negro African American status to the living national, the free national status of Moor, a Moorish American. So part 1 was plenty of cons, and I tied in a couple of pros on that one too. So those pros, I'm not going to go back over those on this list of the pros, but I'm just going to jump into it and see if I'm inspired to maybe add some more pros while I'm making this video for you right now. So one of the first things I would say is if you're able to find a community. It took me a while to connect with a community of Moors, other people, from the tribe, or building tribal relations of your own, and not like your immediate tribe. Maybe like a national or international tribe. So being able to actually, find people who you connect with, who you link with, whether or not you share blood, but you might have a similar background or national origin, and history, So that's very important. If you're able to find a community and connect with people, in order to be stronger together and more of a unit, and you can build with each other, and you're supporting each other, that's very, very positive. That's one of the best things about it, I believe. Another pro would be you become active in law. That's another thing. Once you're diving into history, into law, treaty law, constitutional law, state statutes, and codes, you pretty much start learning the difference in these legal terms. You start being more familiar with legalese over the common tongue. You start being more knowledgeable about like common law, criminal law, civil law, property rights. You really start diving into all this stuff once you realize, what's real, what's not, what's been used against us, what's been levied against us. Like games that have been played on us that we don't know the rules on. So you really start looking at the rules of engagement. And that also goes when it comes to like warfare, like the rules of engagement. What are the rules of the battlefield? If you're going into any type of environment of competition, they're usually the rules of engagement. So it's good to study law, study history, so you can get a solid foundation of these code statutes, laws, constitutional, state law, federal law, things of that nature. So you can have a strong grasp, and understanding, and understanding of law as a whole. So that's very important. That's one of the best pros right there. Also, the history aspect of that too. I've always been sort of like a history buff. science buff since I was, a child, since I was a very, very young child. So those aspects of, being able to dive into history, anthropology, archaeology, digging up the past, reading old scripts, Sanskrit, Dead Sea Scrolls, diving into knowledge and information of the occult, religious books, a lot of that stuff, is a lot of ancient knowledge that to some people, it's like a kid in a candy store, a child in a candy store, that, they just eat that stuff up. It's very, very interesting. So the history aspect, jumping into the history, getting that knowledge, whatever might pique your interest, so you can connect it to, what's going on today. That's very exciting. So that's one of the major pros for me as well. So, law and history, tying history into the law, law into the history, interesting stuff. Very, 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 very exciting stuff. Also, you gain a nationality, so leaving that status behind once you get a firm grasp on what your nationality is versus not having a nationality as like neither or black or colored person. Leaving that status behind and coming into full personhood. Once you get a grasp on that, mentally, spiritually, and physically, it's a very positive feeling. It's a very positive feeling. You feel connected back to the human family. You also gain like a brotherhood. That's something I wrote here. You get like a camaraderie with other Moors, other people in the struggle. Some people might gain a sense of empathy. People who may have lost empathy, because there's a programming to be non-empathetic toward a nigger. You call somebody that, is more likely to do like psychological damage through disassociation versus calling someone a brother or a sister. And you're not going to go out and try to hurt your brother or your sister, but it's a lot easier for these music genres to go out and be like, I'm gonna do this to a nigga, I'm gonna do this to a B. You know what I'm saying? It's real easy to say that when you associate, human beings, people who may look like you, who are in your vicinity, to these non-human titles and categories. It really does something subconscious to you. So when you get that sense of brotherhood, you start looking at your own people and you see them as brothers and sisters who merely need your help. You really start having a sense of, we need to raise up fallen humanity. We need to pick up fallen humanity. Just like the prophet, Anobu Raleigh said, we got to raise fallen humanity. And when you look out into the world and you see people strung out on drugs, people suffering from violence, whether it's like policy enforcement or police brutality, human rights violations, domestic violence in relationships, gang violence and things of that nature. When you see physical violence taking place, or you see people hurting, you see people struggling, you see homeless encampments of vagrants who are people who are from this land, not people who just came across the border. You see people who are from here, veterans who may have fought for their country and stuff like that in the nation, and they're out there and they're intense and things like that. You really feel like you stop disassociating yourself from them and you start seeing them as, that could be you. And wouldn't you want somebody to be kind to you? Wouldn't you want somebody to give you water or food or to show a friendly smile in your direction instead of spitting, spitting in your direction, or running you out of a place. You start really feeling a deep empathy and a connection to your fellow mankind. People are struggling, and you really want everybody to do better and to be better. So this world is a better place. It really gives you that type of sense. For somebody who may lack empathy, once you get into nationality, you get into the studies, and it really connects to you, you really start getting a sense of empathy and wanting to make the world a better place. So that's definitely a pro. Along with stop going by the term black. So that's very powerful. You disassociate yourself with that word black, and you disassociate yourself with the word Negro and colored and all that. Once you know what those words and those phrases mean, you realize that they don't connect to the human family at all. And when you're back into the human family, you're no longer controlled by those titles. If somebody comes up and calls you a nigger or a nigga, you don't refer to yourself as nigga. You don't refer to your friends and family as nigga. You may stop using that word in your daily language. Like for me personally, it's been some years since I've just said that, but I grew up saying that. It was just anything. It was just a noun. So. Calling people that other than their name, even when you're referring to friends and family and things of that nature. And then you could do the same thing if you're referring to an enemy or somebody you don't like. It's the same exact word. So it doesn't roll off the tongue as easy now, even though I can kind of say it, but I often catch myself when I say it. And I honestly don't like even using that word anymore. And especially referring to myself or my people, because once you know where that word really comes from, you start diving into the etymology of a word, which is where a word comes from, the historical links, how it changed over time linguistically. When you look into etymology, you realize the word nigger comes from the troglodyte nigger, which is a caveman, which had nothing to do with my people, our people, the original man on this planet. Certain people have Neanderthal DNA who are walking around on this planet right now, and it's not people who look like me. So, once you get into that knowledge, that stuff doesn't faze you because you have the knowledge up here, and you're no longer at a low vibrational level that you'll have emotional reactions to these irrelevant and irrational titles and names and things of that nature. Somebody who's at a lower vibration than you start calling them those names, and you don't even associate that with you. And sometimes it's kind of funny because it's like, really, you think that's gonna hurt me in some way, shape, or form? So you're not hurt by those words, especially when you know where it comes from and who it really pertains to. If you type it in on your Google right now as you're watching this video, troglodyte nigger. Type in that. What is a troglodyte? And it's troglodyte hyphen nigger, and it's one word. It's it's a scientific term. So yeah, type in what that is and who that is, and you'll really see who it applies to and how things have been switched up and reversed. And once you get the knowledge, you're just on a whole nother level mentally, spiritually, and physically. It comes. So yeah, that's definitely a plus. Not being fazed by that. That's not taking anything away from you. I would say having a nationality, one of the major pros is it's a gateway to freedom. Spiritual freedom, mental freedom, not being held down by those labels, not being hurt by associations, even though some people still might associate you with certain things that may not be positive, but you start associating yourself with things that are on a higher plane. That's ideas and thoughts and vibrations that are on a higher level, and it really frees you. Or at least that's how I felt personally. I can only speak from my personal opinions, that I felt free, and I do feel free on a daily basis. With this information that I have, knowing what I know, and it's kind of like, sometimes it's sort of like being in like a secret club, when you know to read between the lines, when everybody else is only seeing the surface level. So it's kind of like when you run into somebody, or if you have camaraderie with somebody else who can see the code of the matrix. I want to take it back to that, because that film is like a real documentary, and once you decode it, you can really like put it side by side with life in the world that we're in today. So when Neo was first looking at the Matrix, it showed up as a code. Everybody knows the black computer screen with the green codes going up and down, and things of that nature. And I believe the character's name was Switch, but he was the operator for them, pulling them in and out of the Matrix. They're linked to the Matrix in reality. So the operator was telling him that eventually you'll see this code, and it'll look like you're looking at a normal picture on a screen. You'll be able to see it and see the code as a normal picture, and that's how the Matrix shows up. So once you can start deciphering the code of the Matrix, and you can see it for what it really is, and you might bump shoulders, or you might rub elbows, or you might bump into or have a conversation or any kind of connection with someone else who sees through the Matrix and the code. It makes a connection that's just very, very special. It's very, very exciting and exhilarating, and it really makes you feel alive. It's like, wow, you see it, yeah, I see it, and then you see everybody else, like they don't. So it's kind of cool, and at times, if you're in tune enough, it's kind of like you somewhat may have a little glimpse on like the future. You might see flashes of what the future might hold, because you can see through the Matrix, and you can see kind of like what's coming, versus people who aren't able to, who are just like in a reactionary state. You can be more proactive. So that's a plus. Once you start being able to decipher it, sometimes you're like ahead of the curve, and that's a pro. That's a really strong pro. So I would say it's a gateway to freedom. You stop caring. You stop calling people colors. Yes, that's important. When you gain your nationality, you stop referring to other people as black, white. We don't call Asian people yellow people. We don't call so-called American Indians red people. So-called black people. We don't call them. But people still like using the term, black people, white people. I heard a lot when I was younger, growing up. You talk like you white and stuff like that. And that kind of does something to you, if you grow up in a sort of environment. So, only certain people can really say, and that they've had that sort of experience, and it's normally a certain type of person in our community. But yeah, I definitely heard that a lot when I was growing up. You talk like you're white and stuff like that. It was just the way I spoke. It was the way I was. It was the way I was brought up, and it was a little different from the environment which I grew up. So the things I was interested in, how I communicated, what I learned in elementary school and grade school, the people who I had contact with and connection with was, a different demographic from all over the world. So I had a decent upbringing when it comes to being in elementary school, in grade, elementary to grade school. So I had different outlooks on life because I had different friends who were from different ethnic and cultural backgrounds when I was younger. So I was a little more tolerant, but I still had ignorant ways of looking at things, because of the environment that I grew up in and what I was exposed to and what I was used to. And then I remember realizing that my worldview or the stuff I was used to or the way I was raised wasn't how everybody else was. So, it was enlightening. Like, personally, it's been this thing going around online where it was this thing where they were like so-called white people, or like people of European descent. They say like they don't wash their legs or use washcloths or something like that, when they bathe. And I remember my first time finding that out when I was a younger man, that I was dating someone from, a different culture, and me and the girl showered together, and like I gave her a washcloth, and like she was like, what? I was just like, so that was a personal experience, myself, and I remember my first time dealing with that. Like I'm a much younger man, high school, so yeah. When I first found that out, and then the way that conversation is coming up, years later, 10 plus years later, I'm just like, wow. Like I remember my first time, finding that out, and just like the way it's a conversation and it's online now, just because different cultures and people do different things. So that form of enlightening is a pro. Very, very fun, very entertaining stuff. When you can look at the world through a different lens. And stop calling people colors, Negro, Black, stuff like that. You start looking at people as humans, members of the human family. There's only one race under the sun, and it's the human race. And there's a quote that Bruce Lee said, but it's a quote from Confucius. He was like, under the sun, we are all like one big family. It just so happens that people are different. So I'm just like, wow. And once you start accepting, other humans as being different, and you accept it and you start loving them for their differences, you start gaining that type of empathy. And growing up in certain environments, that empathy isn't always instilled in people. So, you might look at, depending on what type of traumas someone might have, they might look at certain people as adversaries. So they always feel like they're up against something or someone's up against them, versus us saying that it's a system that's not necessarily one person, but it's a system that we're up against, and we have to do something collectively to change the system. You know what I'm saying? As well as another pro would be self-love and love for Moors worldwide. It's very important, when you start realizing how large the Moorish family is, who's considered a Moor, who isn't. When you look back to when the Crusades were for, like the Holy Wars, Christians versus Muslims, you realize like almost anybody who was considered a darker skinned person is considered a Moor. Anybody who has a melanated hue of complexion was considered or is considered Moor. So when it comes to like the kingdom, when it comes to the empire, of when it comes to the Moorish Empire or the Empire of Morocco in antiquity, the lands that were connected through that empire, Turtle Island, which is North South Central America, and parts of Europe, and parts of what we know as Africa, and what we know as like the Middle East, and those territories, parts of what we know like it's like Russia and China, the Tartarian Empire, stuff like that. When you look at antiquity and how large globally that those empires stretched, and all the people collectively that were in there, you really start having a camaraderie and a sense of like brotherhood and sisterhood and love for humanity. Once you have a love for yourself, the prophet said we need to learn to love instead of hate. And once you gain a nationality and you disassociate yourself from like Negro, Black, and colored, what the U.S. government created, that status and that category and that label, and what a Negro, Black, or colored is, and what's associated with a Negro, Black, or colored is nothing positive, it's nothing good, it's nothing righteous, it's nothing worthy, it's nothing that you really want to be associated with. It's all bad, it's all negative. So once you disassociate yourself with that and you realize that you are more than just a part of the human family, you have a nationality, and you can connect the Moorish lineage legacy to nobility and the kings and queens that people like to say. So like versus it, and the reason I say that is, if you type in like black nobility or black kings and queens, that wasn't really a thing. But you type in, like, when somebody says that, black nobility or black kings and queens, they really mean Moorish nobility, Moorish kings and queens. If you type that in Google, you get two different searches. They might liken them together, by linking them together. But if you type in Moorish nobility, noble Moors, things of that nature, you'll start seeing the pictures of those nobles and coat of arms and things of that nature, and you realize that it's not the same as black. Black is just a tag, a status, something that was created, and something that was created to denigrate that status. How they tagged black onto Moor, calling us black Amors, instead of just Moors, you know what I'm saying? So they cut off that Moor part and just went with black. Instead of black Amor, they were just like black, negro. So you really start getting a worldwide love for Moors and our people when you realize what nations, what flags are really Moorish flags, you start seeing the coat of arms, you start seeing the fez, you start seeing the fezzes that are on these flags, and you're like, dang, man, those are Moors right there. You start to resonate. Another pro is you start to resonate love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, the 5 divine principles right there. You really start wanting that for everyone, worldwide. Like I said, it comes with that global love for Moors. You realize that we are all part of the human family, and you start getting a connection and a love for mankind, and a betterment for mankind. So we can all do better, and we can all live and prosper and honor our ancestors and honor the Most High God. So the next pro would be, once you get into this information, this knowledge, you start to become a scholar. You start to become a teacher, an educator. Like by you gaining this information, you start to spread that information. You start to resonate. You start to oscillate that information around you. You start to resonate and oscillate love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Those frequencies start to become who you are, and you start to vibrate at a level that you start affecting other people around you to enlighten them as you're enlightening yourself. Because your light becomes so bright that you start to illuminate the darkness around you. And that darkness around you is, it could be fear, it could be lack of knowledge, it could be ignorance. Mostly that darkness is ignorance. When they talk about the dark ages, historically, the dark ages was an age of ignorance, was an age that people were unlearned, where people did not read. People were falling victim to disease and famine, plague, and filth of not knowing. And then the Moors came and the Renaissance happened. They brought soap and cleanliness and different ways of life and culture, lights, lighting the streets at night and things of that nature, irrigation systems to clean the filth out of the street, a different way of living versus sleeping in the barns with the animals and stuff like that, different forms of architecture and art. So a standard of living went from one level to another when they left, when the Dark Ages ended and ceased and the Renaissance started. So you become a teacher, you become a scholar, and you start to enlighten yourself and the people around you. You start to enlighten your own life, and you start to enrich the world. Another pro is you become a builder versus being a destroyer. Having this knowledge, having this information, starting to learn who you are, and that Moors are the builders, that we built the pyramids, we built all the megalithic structures of the old world and some coming into the new world. It was our ingenuity, it was our ancestors' ingenuity, our ancestors' knowledge and courage and spirit of will that formed these great monuments and were able to shape the world around them into their image. And another culture behind them came in order to wipe out and make us forget about that strong heritage and lineage of builders and creators. So once you tap back into that, I'm telling you, like, your ancestors or your guardian angels, you're gonna get some type of download from the universe that's going to come into you. You just have to be receptive to it, and you have to learn how to channel that with your humanly vessel, with your own hands in this world, and you have to make that a reality. You have to bring you have to manifest from the spiritual plane, from the etherical plane into the physical world. And it becomes a lot easier once you reconnect into your divine bloodline and your heritage and your culture. It just flows. I'm telling you, it just flows. All those blocks, mental blocks, barricades, all those barriers, all those cursed seals, all those things have been broken and removed. You just have to tap into it, fam. Definitely a major plus. Be a builder, not a destroyer. But they try to tell us that we're nothing but destroyers, that we're plagues upon this planet. But that's not our people. That's not us. You are okay. Also, by doing that, I wrote here that you become a stone for your family. And when I say a stone, I mean like the cornerstone. You become a solid rock. Like Christ was saying. Like Christ was saying for Peter, he was like, "You're my rock." Like you're the foundation. You become that foundation. You become that rock for your family. You start acquiring this information, this knowledge. You start applying it. You start understanding, and you start resonating that knowledge, and you start living it, and you start walking the path. Because versus somebody telling you, the prophet said that. Mind me, I'm paraphrasing, but the prophet said that like even a wood sign can point the way. You know what I'm saying? So a piece of wood that's a sign can point somebody to go a direction, which somebody can disregard that sign. But it was like, but he also said that you have to be the one to walk that way. So instead of just being, a sign and pointing somebody in a direction, you gotta walk that direction to show them how it is to walk that direction. And most likely someone is just gonna follow in your footsteps because you make it that much easier. It's like walking in snow. If you're walking in snow that is a few feet deep, every time you step into it and you break through, the person walking behind you, it's easier if they walk in your footsteps. If they walk into the area that you already broke through with that you're moving forward, it's that much easier because you're walking through the snow. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully that makes sense. Let's see what else I have here. You become a more of your word. People start realizing that when you speak, you're often saying something that's of value, that's important. When you speak, you're often being truthful, you're often being honorable, you're often being righteous. So when you talk, they know you're not talking you're not speaking out of the side of your neck. When you speak, you're speaking with some type of authority. You're speaking with some type of knowledge, some type of understanding and overstanding that you've done your due diligence, that you can give them this piece of wisdom. That becomes you. Once you get into this information, you start to speak like that because you know truth from false. Your discernment has enlightened you to a level that you can show others the way by the way you're walking, and they can see your lighting their way through the darkness, even if they don't have a light of their own yet. That's what it is. That's very, very important. So when you say something, when you say you're going to do something, as a Moor, you're a man of your word, you're a person of your word, you're going to do it. You know what I'm saying? And people start to respect you for that. Your family start to look up to you. People in your life, your co-workers, anybody you might be working with, people in your tribe, anybody you might be bumping shoulders with, anybody in your community, start recognizing and realizing that you are a person of your word, you're a man of your word, you are honorable. You're not just saying something just to be saying something, and you put thought into it. That you're a thoughtful person. Very important. I wrote here, you become legally literate. I mentioned that earlier. You start learning what legalese is. You can start deciphering contracts for your family. You pretty much start operating in law. You don't need a license to operate in law. That's a farce when they said. That's a farce when it's stated that you need a license to be a lawyer or something like that. In order to be a member of their barristers association, yeah, you do. In order to be a member of their barristers association, but the Constitution states that anybody can practice law. You know what I'm saying? And it's as basic as the common law, and that's why the common law is there. Anyone can practice law. Anybody can stand up for their rights. Anybody can read a book. And because the original constitutional the original rights in the Constitution was supposed to be easy enough for anybody, for the common man to understand, overstand, and understand, and to actually keep their freedom. So that's what that was in the blueprints for the Constitution for the United States of America Republic. All right. You become an active Moor versus being a passive Moor. That's another plus. Instead of just sitting back and reaping all the benefits for yourself, you go out and you try to uplift the fallen humanity. You start to actually attempt to make the world a better place, not just enriching your own life personally. You might, of course, you have to start with yourself at a certain level. You have to raise yourself up to a certain level personally, and then you can start helping out your family, and then you can start helping out your community. You do have to do it that way, but you don't solely purpose on enriching yourself in your own life only, and forgetting about your family, forgetting about your friends, forgetting about your neighbors and your community. So once a person gets into this information, you start to uplift yourself, you start to uplift your family, and you start to uplift your community. It's a ripple effect. It's a domino effect. And lastly, the last point I have here is, if you've ever seen the old 80s movie, or it could be 80s or early 90s, but it's called They Live. It had my man's Roddy Piper in that thing back in the day. So it was these glasses, these sunglasses in this movie, when if you put them on, you can decipher the veil that's being pulled over your eyes to make you see the world in a certain way, to make you a consumer, to make you obey, to make you obedient, to make you submissive, to make you want to reproduce, to make you want to buy. If you ever seen that movie, They Live, check it out. You can probably find clips or scenes, if you have not seen it already, on YouTube or on another search engine website, DuckDuckGo, Google, Bing, or whatever. I'm sure you can find clips if you go look for it. They Live. So it's like you always have those glasses on, fam. Once you start to decipher this matrix, and you get into nationality, and you start reading law and history, and you know what's real, what isn't, what's being used to trick us. It's really like you have those glasses on all the time, fam. You can't take them off. You always seeing what the trick is, what the trap is, what the poison is. You always seeing that they're trying to point you to go this direction when you really should be going this direction. They always telling you. You can automatically see when they're telling you to look up when you really should be looking down, or they're telling you to look down when you really should be looking up. So it's just easy for you to see through the matrix. You start to see that code, and I'm telling you, you start seeing, if you're observant like I am, because I am a very observant person, you can start seeing patterns. I believe it also comes with a God-given sense of discernment, that you can start seeing and noticing patterns, not just coincidences like they try to say that there are. Some people believe that there's no such thing as coincidence, that everything is ordained and designed. I can't speak on that, whether or not everything is ordained and designed, versus us having free will and nothing being set in stone, the future not being solid yet. I can't speak on that. That's another topic for another video, but it's really like you have those They Live glasses on, and you can really see the world for what it is, and that way you can avoid the traps. You can help your friends and family avoid the traps, and you can build a real solid foundation and a future for yourself and your family, and for the world to be a better place. I really thank you for joining me. Once again, this is your brother Zach Bay. Like, share, subscribe to my channel so you can be notified. Hit that bell. Thank you. Peace.